Hey guys, welcome to my last video update. So I'm back in Perth. I don't know how well you can see it back there, but there's Perth City in the background there. I'm up in the hills, just relaxing. It's a little bit overcast, but that's alright. I think everywhere's a little bit overcast at the moment. So last time, where did we pick up last time? We were back in Melbourne after going to Tassie. Cool. So back in Melbourne, went for a bit of a walk around again, just sort of walked down to the MCG. Didn't go in and do the tour, I've done that before, and had one of the girls from the Tassie tour came across as well and was staying with me for a little bit. And so yeah, we just went on a bit of a sightseeing tour around Melbourne, down to the Botanical Gardens and the Shrine of Remembrance, and had a nice little drink on St Kilda Beach there too. We also went to Brighton Beach, which has these awesome, brightly coloured like beach shacks that we should really see more of. I think that'd be awesome to have some over here. But yeah, no, it was really good, really nice there, if a bit overcast, and rained. It rained. But there was a Mr. Whippy van right next to Brighton Beach, so we got an ice cream, and had our had ice cream in the wind and the rain, and then got back in the car. So yeah, after that, um, I left Melbourne and went on the road to South Australia. Stopped in Ballarat to see Ben. Ballarat was freaking cold. It was like I got there at about 11 and it was still like 5 degrees. And Ben was saying it got to like -3 the other day. It was like ridiculously cold. So yeah, if you go to Ballarat, be prepared to be cold. And then did a quick drive through the Grampians, so went for a walk up a track for the pickaninnies there, and then also out to Mackenzie Falls. I didn't go all the way down to the bottom of Mackenzie Falls just because it started to rain, and me being a wussy person didn't want to get wet. And yeah, I actually crossed the South Australian border that night as well, and camped at a place called Tailem Bend before going on to Adelaide. So the caravan park I got in Adelaide was just, that was like a K and a half out of the Rundle Mall area there. So I went for a bit of a walk around Rundle Mall and got in touch with cousin Stephen over there, and went around there and met the kids and caught up with Sally as well, and yeah, had a great time. And the next day I went for more of a walk around Adelaide and decided, I want to go to the footy. So I went to the Port Adelaide and St Kilda game there, which was a really good game, but also found out my mate from Melbourne, who's actually from Adelaide, Hayden, was at the game as well. So he was in Adelaide that weekend and went out for a big night. And I have to say, sorry, Uncle Ross, but you've been pipped for the drunkest night. That was very, very drunk. I was not well the next day at all. But yeah, went and watched Stephen's two eldest boys play footy, so that was really good too. And from there, I just sort of, I was ready for home, so I drove pretty quickly. So one day to Ceduna, next day to Eucla, which is just on the WA side of the WA South Australia border. But on the way there, like I stopped at a couple of spots and took some photos along the Great Australian Bight there, saw some whales, and yeah, did a bit of sightseeing along the way. Then Esperance for a night, and then to Albany. We caught up with Trent and Kristen and Noah and Carter, so yeah, another cousin there. And from Albany to Margaret River, we stayed at Joe's place overnight, and Travis and Amy and their two kids came down. And then that brings us to last night, which I spent in Travis and Amy's place down Mandurah Way, and now I'm home. So that's the grand finale of my trip. So yeah, taken. In fact, what's the date today? The 7th today. So if I'd come back home tomorrow, it would have been 4 months on the dot since I left. So I left on the 8th of April. So some interesting. Well, I find them interesting stats. Not many other people might, but it was 121 days on tour. I used just over 2,900 litres of fuel on my trip around, and spent just over $4,000 on that fuel. I've driven pretty close to 23,000 kilometres and driven over 340 hours. That's a lot of driving. The longest driving I did in a day was 906.5 kilometres from Eucla to Esperance, and the longest time was 11 hours and 25 minutes, which I did when I left Melbourne and went through the Grampians to Tailem Bend in South Australia there. The most expensive fuel I paid was $1.86.9 in Berkeley Homestead, which is on the way to the Queensland border in Northern Territory there. And the cheapest, would you believe, I filled up today just before I did this video, and the cheapest fuel I had was here in Maddington, where I live, at $1.03.9. There, so that was a bit crazy. And well, I've had such a blast on this trip and seen so many things, and not just caught up with like family and friends, but just reconnected with a lot of those people as well that I haven't seen for so long. You know, like up the WA coast, from running into Uncle Dennis in Cervantes on that first night, which I'm very glad he did, because he passed away a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, that was the last time I saw Uncle Dennis. And yeah, then up to Carnarvon, and with Chris and Ish in Carnarvon, through up, where'd I go from there? Oh, and there was my new friends that I made as well. Like there was a Pommy couple that I ran into in Monkey Mire and ran into again in Carragini, and there was an Englishman, and I forget where his missus was from as well, doing the same thing, you know. And just that sort of stuff up the WA coast, where you just kept on running into the same people over and over again, was just awesome. Yeah, and Stephen and Becky in Karratha, Uncle Ross in Tom Price, and Melissa and Dandy in Port Hedland, and then yeah, and then Sean and Shani in Kununurra, and then across to Darwin, stayed with Lisa there, caught up with her, and yeah, then Courtney in Mount Isa. Courtney I met when I was travelling, when I was backpacking around Europe, you know, so that's how, that was 10 years ago now, so that's some good friends I made there. And down the coast, Steph and Maggie, who travelled with me from Cairns down to Brisbane. That was an awesome couple of weeks. I wish it could have been longer. You know, and catching up with Mitch and Sam in Brizzy, and meeting I've lost the name now, John, I think, in Brizzy as well, one of Steph's friends there. Then down to Sydney, catching up with Carrie and Qua, and Em and Joe as well, and so that was really good. And then down to Melbourne, catching up with Hayden, absolute blast. If you ever come back to Perth, mate, we'll take you out, and I'll get you as drunk as you got me in Melbourne and Adelaide. Stu as well. I'm sure there was somebody else I caught up with in Melbourne. No, not coming to me. But yeah, and then across to Tassie, and the amazing tour group there. Under Down Under put on a really good tour there, but the people on that tour was just such a blast. What seemed like half of, you know, the Netherlands on there. I think we started with 11 people, and 4 of them were Dutch, and then we picked up another 3, and 2 of them were Dutch. So that was, yeah, that was really good, meeting them. And yeah, and then through Adelaide and catching up with Stephen and Sally and Chelsea as well, who I hadn't seen in ages, and yeah, and then down to Albany, where I caught up with Trent and Kristen, you know, and all those people that I was catching up with again. It felt like you'd never left. You know, you just picked up the conversation and just kept running with it. It was, yeah, so great to have that. And I hope the new people that I've met, you know, through this trip, and I've got them on Facebook, so I hope if they ever come to Perth that they look me up and give me a yell, because yeah, I look forward to keeping in touch with all those people, just like I have with the people that from when I went backpacking. You know, may have been 10 years ago backpacking, but you know, it's still great to catch up with them. So yeah, if I met you on this trip, look me up in Perth, or if I'm ever near you, I'll look you guys up. And because that's what makes a trip in the end, I think, is the people that you meet. You know, it's really great to go and see all these things, but it's the friends that you make, and the old friends and family that you reconnect with. So so yeah, so that's it. Really, that's the trip. I'm back home. Still got a couple of weeks before I have to go back to work, so that's good. Can, you know, clean down the trailer, unpack, and unwind for a bit, and catch up with friends and family back home. And But yeah, but that's it. That's my long service done. Well, almost 2 weeks, like I said. But yeah, that's the trip all done, and I'm so glad to have done it, and so glad to have met so many people. So I hope they all feel the same way about me. And yeah, I'm not quite sure how to finish this now, but just had an absolute blast, and I hope you've enjoyed. These videos. This one should be relatively short. Hopefully, I haven't waffled on too long, and yeah, I'll put some more pictures up on Facebook as well after this.